Imagine being trapped in your car, miles from anywhere on a snow-choked highway, with a blizzard raging. But as the darkness deepens and the cold seeps in, you realize the greatest danger isn't the storm itself. It's the feeling of being watched, or worse, of not being alone. Sarah had been driving trucks for almost 15 years. She'd crossed frozen lakes, mountain passes, backcountry roads, and highways so empty they felt like the edge of the world. But nothing, absolutely nothing, ever rattled her the way Highway 17 did in northern Ontario. Locals called it the silent stretch. Low visibility, moose crossings, and weather that could turn vicious without warning. But there was something else, too. A legend whispered among long-haul drivers. If the storm becomes too quiet, don't stop. Sarah always brushed off the stories. Until the night she couldn't. It was past midnight when the first flakes hit her windshield. Soft, harmless, but within minutes, the snow thickened, swirling like white smoke. Her wipers fought a losing battle as the visibility dropped to almost nothing. The radio crackled with weather warnings, but she was already in too deep, committed to the route. By 1:04 a.m., the storm became a full whiteout. Sarah eased her rig to a slow crawl, knuckles tight on the wheel. Every instinct told her to push through, but the snow piled too quickly. When her trailer pitched slightly to the right, she cursed under her breath. The truck skidded, then slid sideways until the wheels dug into a shallow ditch. She was stuck. Sarah flicked on her hazards and grabbed her radio. Breaker 19, this is Roadrunner. I'm stuck just past mile marker 42 on 17. Anyone out there? Static answered. She tried again. Nothing. The blizzard swallowed the world outside her cab, muting everything except the drumming of snow against metal. She wrapped her coat tighter around herself. But the longer she sat there, the more she felt it. A strange prickling at the back of her neck. Like eyes on her, watching. She told herself it was just the storm, just adrenaline. But then she noticed something that froze her blood. The fresh tire tracks behind her truck were disappearing. Not covered by snow, not blown over. Gone. Erased. As if the truck had never driven there at all. Sarah leaned forward, breath fogging the glass. What the... Her headlights illuminated the drifting snow. But something else moved in that pale glow. Something darker. Large shapes slipping between the trees. She couldn't make out any details. Just silhouettes, tall and unnaturally still, standing just beyond the tree line. Watching her, her heartbeat hammered in her ears. She grabbed her radio again. Breaker 19. Seriously, someone pick up. Crackling. Then, finally, Roadrunner. Hold your position. Sarah felt a wave of relief. Copy that. You close? But the voice on the other end didn't answer the question. Don't leave the truck. The voice was flat. Off. No engine in the background. No wind. No static. Just a hollow, empty tone. Sarah swallowed hard. Who is this? Silence. Then, you're not alone out there. The radio went dead. Her breath caught in her throat. She stared into the blizzard, every nerve screaming. Then, 3 slow knocks hit the side of her trailer. Knock, knock, knock. Something was outside. Sarah slid her hand to the horn and pressed it, letting it blare, hoping to scare off wildlife or whatever else. The dark shapes in the woods shifted, turning toward the sound. She felt her skin crawl. Then, out of nowhere, bright headlights burst through the storm behind her. A large pickup truck skidded to a stop. A man jumped out, waving. "You stuck," he yelled over the wind. Sarah hesitated. Something about the way his shadow stretched, too long, too distorted, sent a pulse of fear through her. But she needed help. The man approached, face obscured by a hood and the swirling snow. "We'll get you out," he said, not reassuring, commanding. Before she could react, two more figures stepped from the blizzard, emerging from angles he couldn't understand, like they'd been standing just beneath the snow itself. No tracks behind them, none. Every instinct screamed, "Run." Sarah slammed the door lock, threw the truck into gear, and floored it. The wheels screamed, but caught just enough traction to lurch her free. The figures rushed toward her, arms reaching, longer than they should have been. The hooded man's face shifted in the headlights like melting wax. Sarah didn't look back. She drove for miles until she saw the glow of a rest stop. Inside, trembling, she asked the clerk if any rescue trucks had been sent out. He shook his head. "No one's been on this road for hours." Even today, years later, Sarah refuses to drive Highway 17 because she knows the truth. She was never rescued that night. She was hunted, and whatever wiped her tracks from the snow is still out there. There's a special kind of fear that only comes when you're driving alone at night. No streetlights, no signal, just snow, silence, and the sudden feeling that someone is sitting right behind you. Michael had driven the Rocky Mountain Pass dozens of times. As an IT consultant, long nights and late drives were routine. The weather report that evening mentioned light flurries, nothing unusual. But mountain weather doesn't ask for permission. It arrives when it wants. By the time Michael reached the highest stretch of the pass, the flurries had turned violent. Snow slammed into his windshield sideways, erasing the road ahead. Pines towered on both sides like black silhouettes, swallowing his headlights. The radio faded into static, then died completely. And then the engine cut out. The car coasted to a stop on the narrow shoulder. Michael tried the ignition again. Nothing. The dashboard lights dimmed, then went dark. Silence. Not the normal quiet of a stopped engine, but something heavier, thicker, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. The snow fell without sound. No wind, no distant traffic, just absolute stillness. Michael grabbed his phone. No signal. That's when he felt it. A shift in the air inside the car. Not movement. Presence. The back of his neck prickled. Slowly, against his better judgment, Michael glanced up at the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. Still, the feeling didn't fade. It grew stronger, like someone leaning forward, close enough that he could almost feel breath. Cold, damp breath against the back of his head. "Get a grip," he muttered. He tried the ignition again. The engine sputtered, then failed. That's when the temperature inside the car dropped sharply. His breath fogged instantly, thick and white. The pressure behind him increased. Michael didn't turn around. Instead, his eyes locked onto the passenger side window. A faint outline appeared in the frost. Not a reflection, a shape. Something pressed slowly against the glass from the inside, like a head leaning near his shoulder, its weight bending the air, its shape wrong. Too tall, too close. The window creaked softly. Michael's heart pounded so hard he thought it might shatter his ribs. "No," he whispered. The pressure moved closer. He could feel it now, right behind his seat. The smell followed. Wet earth. Snow. Something old and rotting beneath the cold. The backseat cushion compressed. Something had sat down. Michael slammed the key in the ignition and turned it with both hands. The engine coughed once. The shape at the window pressed harder. Cracks spidered through the frost. "Come on! Come on!" The car roared to life. The moment the engine started, the pressure vanished. The air rushed back into the car, like a held breath released. The shape at the window slid away, leaving nothing but smeared frost and a single, long streak, like fingers dragged downward. Michael didn't wait. He floored the gas. The tires skidded, then caught, and the car surged forward down the mountain road. He kept his eyes locked on the road, hands shaking, refusing to check the mirrors. But he could feel it. Something still clung to the back of the car, gliding along silently, keeping pace just outside his vision. The snow finally thinned near the base of the pass. Lights appeared ahead. Civilization. Safety. Only then did the pressure lift completely. Michael pulled into the first open gas station and sat there, sobbing, afraid to move. Later, a mechanic told him the car had suffered a complete electrical failure, something that should have left it dead for hours. Michael sold the car the next day. To this day, he refuses to drive through mountain passes at night, because whatever joined him in that car never needed the door to open. Have you ever followed a road so long that it starts to feel wrong? Like the world outside your headlights isn't moving forward, but closing in. Tonight's story is about what happens when direction itself turns against you. Emily was a third-year university student who hated driving at night, especially through rural Maine. But the storm had already started when she left her friend's house, and the idea of staying longer felt worse than the drive home. Snow fell lightly at first, dusting the narrow state route in white. The road was obscure, barely marked, winding through dense forest where the trees leaned in close, swallowing the sky. Her GPS showed a simple 45-minute drive. That estimate would become meaningless. 10 minutes in, her phone buzzed once, then the screen went black. The GPS vanished. Emily frowned and tapped it, but the display stayed dark. At the same moment, the radio cut out, leaving her alone with the hum of tires on snow. She drove on, trusting the road signs, until they disappeared. One by one, the reflective markers and mile signs vanished, replaced by long, unbroken stretches of asphalt that felt older, narrower. The yellow center line faded, then broke apart completely. Emily slowed, heart tightening. She was sure she'd already passed that crooked pine tree. Then she passed it again and again. The same bend, the same fallen log, the same stretch of road illuminated by her headlights like a looping nightmare. Emily turned the steering wheel hard at the next intersection, certain she'd broken free. But the forest didn't change. The road didn't change. Even the snow fell the same way, drifting sideways in slow, deliberate sheets. Her sense of direction vanished. The compass app on her phone finally flickered back to life, but the needle spun wildly, refusing to settle. That's when she saw the lights. Far ahead, between the trees, a faint amber glow pulsed softly. Not headlights, not a house. They hovered too low, too steady. Hope flared in her chest. She followed them. The road narrowed until branches scraped her car. The trees grew denser, the snow deeper. The lights drifted farther ahead, always just out of reach, guiding her deeper into the woods. Her fuel gauge dipped sharply. Panic set in. The lights finally stopped. Emily's headlights swept across a small clearing and landed on a cabin. It sat crooked, half buried in snow, its windows black and empty. The wood looked ancient, warped by time and weather. No tire tracks, no footprints, no sign that anyone had been there for decades. Her car rolled to a stop without her touching the brakes. The engine died. The silence that followed was overwhelming. Emily stepped out, boots crunching softly in the snow. The air felt wrong, thick, muted, as if sound itself had been swallowed. She tried her phone again. No signal. She approached the cabin, breath trembling, drawn by the faint hope of shelter. The door hung open, creaking gently. Inside, her headlights revealed dust-coated furniture and a table covered in old maps. Maps of roads that no longer existed. Her blood ran cold. Pinned to the wall was a weathered state map. A red circle marked the exact location of the cabin. Emily traced the route with her finger, heart pounding. She was miles off course. Not 10, not 20, nearly 60 miles away from the state route she'd been driving. An impossible distance given the time she'd been on the road. The lights outside vanished. A sound came from the forest. Not footsteps, movement. Slow, surrounding. Emily ran. She slammed herself back into the car, turned the key, screaming when nothing happened. Then, without warning, the engine roared to life. She reversed blindly, tearing back down the road. When she finally burst onto a plowed highway, dawn was breaking. Later, police told her no cabin existed where she described. No maps, no road. Emily returned once. The forest was untouched, but her compass has never worked since. And sometimes when she drives at night, she still sees the lights waiting for her to follow.